All right, we're live.
All right, it is. What day is it? It's Friday for sure because it's off slash Friday, but it's June 25th,
Yes,
2021.
it
We
is.
were like, it's a little slow week. We only had like Windows 11 and some major 365 announcements. I said, Todd, there's not a lot of volume. And I was to myself, but there was a pretty significant
Well, for
announcement.
Windows 11, right?
And
We
there was
could
some
just like,
cool M365 announcements
yeah.
that I wanted to unwrap a little bit. So that's what I got going on. So we could probably the biggest one, and we'll spend a lot of time unpacking that. How about you?
I got a little bit of Power Apps, a little bit of Power BI, an important one. So
All
we'll
right,
hit
let's
it.
hit it, man. You're up.
Cool. So on the Power App side, NFC tags, iOS, Android. Enough said.
I'm
So
excited about this
obviously,
one. Actually, I think there's something
say
really
again.
here. I'm jazzed about that. I think there's something
Oh,
there.
for sure, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, what a great. I mean, we've obviously had things like for a while, like scanning of QR codes and things like that. But being able to hit those NFC and RFID tags in your Power Apps, it just enables some really cool scenarios. And there's support here for in Power FX as well. So being able to do that. So have you run across this, Doug, when working with Power Apps, or just excited about it in
I, you
general?
know, I've done a bunch of NFC work from previous things, and
Yeah.
people wanted to do super creative stuff, and it was heavy, right? Like it was super heavy lift. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember. I don't know if the current gen has them, but the original Surface Go had an NFC reader in it.
That's
And
right.
I was a huge fan of that Surface Go with the little thing. And you can obviously get wraparound cases now with a snap-in NFC port on almost any, now with just-in-time printing and manufacturing, you can get anything with an NFC reader now if you
Sure.
want it. They'll just embed it into the wraparound case. It'll be there on the back with a little, target of your choice and your company's logo, and you got yourself an NFC-enabled device. So I'm fascinated by the things you can do with that.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and this is just more native integration with native device abilities on through Power Apps. So check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, couple Power BI things that are great. So this has been something that has been teased for a while. Long-term storage of usage and performance insights using Azure Log Analytics for Power BI. So a couple things to note here. This is at a workspace level. The workspace needs to be premium, meaning when I say premium, it could be premium capacity, premium per user, an embedded SKU, all those work, and it does have to be configured per workspace. So this is
I
great.
actually
And
wouldn't want it any other way.
yeah, probably not. You definitely want to be able to control it at this grain because this is a lot of data.
Yeah, and
This
there's
is
only some
potentially a lot
things
of
you would
data.
want to vault all that crap into. Now let's be honest. Log Analytics is a perfect place to put it, um,
Absolutely.
because it's designed for high volume, great operational analysis, low cost storage. Like that's if
Right.
like that's all I
Yeah,
have to say to
absolutely.
that. Like well done.
I do think that this, still is going to augment some of the other data sources and data sets that are available, like the audit log, the activity log,
Yeah.
because you can only track what you're tracking, right? So if you're not tracking every workspace, it's hard to rank and those kinds of things. But if you need to get granular information about the solution within a workspace, this is perfect. So here's some of the
Is there
answer, or some of the
automation to configure it?
automation to configure the connection to log
Can
analytics.
you provision it at mass?
Oh, that's a good question. I
Because
am
if you
actually
could do if you can do automation for provisioning, then I have no complaints about anything. Like if I can PowerShell or you
right.
know
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the little screenshot of how you can set it up
yeah.
inside the tenant, and then where you go set it up within
You
the
know what? If
works.
not now, soon it'll be either in the Graph API and you can call the Graph from PowerShell or whatever. They always get there. I just was curious if we
Yep.
knew where they were, right?
I No, I don't
So
know.
right now
I
we got
mean,
a
again,
GUI, but our app is unknown. Our app in PowerShell.
right, and it could be there. I'm just not sure. That's a great
Yeah.
question. I'll look into that. But this has been something that people have needed for a long time, especially, gosh, if you need to really monitor performance and query and how people are using your solution. If it's a widely used solution, this is a really a great answer. All right, one more thing here, and then it's over to you, man. I told you I didn't have a lot. The So we've had a Power BI web part for SharePoint Online for a while, but some of the functionality was limited. It was basically just embedding of the report. We've now brought the action bar to the SharePoint Online Power BI web part. So you'll be able to do things like
Shiny.
export, analyze to Excel, analyze in Excel rather, using and viewing personal bookmarks. So this is just a nice add-on too, if you because I think a lot of people are still surfacing up Power BI reports through SharePoint. You now kind of have the full power of Power BI in SharePoint.
That's awesome.
So happy to see this. Yeah, nothing but goodness. All right. Well, I only took 5 minutes, man. What do you got?
I got a couple of things. First, I got a fun one. I
All
thought
right.
we'd go to the big announcement last because we'll probably run out of time talking about that one.
Yeah, thank you.
so,
Yeah.
so did you see the preview announcement of the Outlook Edge? I knew you were going to say you'd seen this one.
And I saw it and I installed it.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty. I am a Outlook power user, like of the Outlook app for Windows, the Outlook Pro Plus, like, and Todd's a PWA user, right? Like you're on Outlook Web. Now there are occasional times where Outlook will like on the web will have leading edge features where it'll suggest content or documents like so I end up using a little bit of both, right? And they're merging that code path together so that you won't be lacking in innovation. But like I use things like inline color coding, conditional formatting of messages in my inbox because I get a large volume of communications from different tiers of people, and I color code things, and I can't do that yet in the PWA. So the like conditional formatting of my inbox, there's a few things I really use to remain sane that just aren't there yet.
Right.
And so, but like this really got me. This is super cool.
Yeah, just in and out so quick.
It's so awesome. So if you're a volume communications person, and you're in the middle of something, and you're trying to roll on it, like that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
like.
And sometimes, I mean, just like the ability to get in and out of email really quick is just
For me, it was the calendar thing that got me, right? So on top of that one, all right, cool. So, so there was. Did you see the creation of tasks from messages in Teams?
I'm not sure I saw this one.
Okay, so you can create a task right from within Teams now in the More Actions.
Oh, I have a Power Automate flow that
Well, I
does
know,
this.
but now you can basically be looking at an individual chat session and convert that dialogue. And my boss is sort of infamous in my meetings for going, "Hey Doug, can you like whatever?" So now I can just turn that into
That's awesome.
I am thrilled by this small functional element that's coming into my world from an overall
Now
standpoint.
I can remove my Power Automate from here.
Well, maybe,
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
multiple Spotlight users during a meeting, which is kind of handy,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Manage your attendees' camera settings, right? We've added the
Ooh.
ability to manage attendee audio and video permissions to help prevent disruptions and create a safer meeting environment. Now you can configure permissions to have all attendees' camera enabled or disabled before the meeting starts.
Okay.
Because you have those
That does
people
not
who
force
join
you to
in
turn
with
your
their
video
cameras
on.
live and they're like walking around their deck or they're walking their dog or whatever. You can just your meeting won't have that, and you can say who
Yeah.
can have that, who has the potential on top
That's
of
the
it.
ability to turn it on. That does not auto turn on video for people.
Correct, and there's something different between muting and disabling. So now I can say you are being disruptive. I am disabling your camera, right?
Yes.
As opposed to. So anyway, I figured I'd just let you know that. I thought that was pretty.
That is
That
handy.
was a pretty smooth functional element. And that's not all that I wanted to do, so I'm going to see if I can get. There we go. There was the Organization Explorer is out there on top of it for preview for insiders, which I thought you should check out on top of it. We continue to make investments in these sort of organizational constructs around org charts and people things. We have
Right.
internal projects, and you will see some of the R&D from our internal stuff, like our internally built stuff, Todd, that you might be familiar with. Like companies have their own internal portals, whatever it is.
Like
Some of
Doctor
our successful tooling is starting to bleed over into like this has been popular enough, and we've tested with enough customers that it comes over on top of
Yeah.
it.
Great.
You can get information in context with more graph connectors. So the Microsoft Search graph connectors we talked about a while back, right? To be able to have that, because remember I said there was this coalition around Azure Search, which is search in Azure, and then Microsoft Search was over here, and this you kind of had this ability to be extensible over here, but you had this integrated experience over here, and the flexibility is coming back to be able to do a real enterprise search platform. I come from that background, so it's not really there all the way yet, but the journey continues to chip away at the use cases. So I love the direction here, even though if you are a super serious enterprise search person, you're like, you're still missing these things. Granted, but
Sure.
remember, we're at the 80th percentile, chipping away at the 20, right? We're not at the 20, heading towards the 80. So I think it's really interesting where we're going on top of that. Some updates to Bookings, which I'm a huge fan of for lots of different things. Like Bookings is, if you know if you haven't checked it out, you should go check it out for like ways to use it creatively. Like not just if you're a larger corporation, there's all sorts of things you can do booking. Like we have some of our product managers who you can do a booking to get time with them. They have reserved
Right.
windows where anyone can sign up to have a conversation with them. Like bookings is a clever service, and you
Hmm.
should go look at it if you haven't taken a recent gander. We used
Yeah,
it.
think about. I mean, it's just a service to get time on someone's calendar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And think about all the approvals and process you could put around that to do that. Yeah, we did some of that interesting in the MTC when COVID first hit,
Yeah.
where we used bookings to um, get architects to help with certain types of projects that were in high demand,
Yeah.
and we weren't quite sure who was going to be available. We needed to book people really quickly. Yeah,
I
it was
was
it
I
was
was
a,
I was a wee bit involved in that.
yeah, I think you were. Yeah,
So and I started really getting appreciation for the service at that point in time. And there are APIs for provisioning and stuff. People use bookings rather creatively, so pretty cool on top of it. Scheduler service released, the Cortana assisted scheduler service went GA. I've been back and forth on this one. I'm going to give it another whirl. Because
I've been using the thing in the lab or whatever the preview was
yeah,
for
yeah.
years.
Do you like
It's
it?
it's been frankly I was like, oh my gosh, finally.
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
I love it.
okay, cool. I mean, that's the sort of thing. They announced the GA of Conversation Insights, some work on top of that, and then you know how I feel about this one. Office Scripts went GA.
Yes.
If you have not played with this, if you have not watched last year's videos on top of it or the ones that are from this year, you gotta go look at this. This is fascinating. You can automate and then replace things with variables and do bidirectional integration through Power Automate, and it is amazing what you can do with this. This is amazing. So you should really, really get familiar with this on top of it. And think about the fusion of this language, Power FX, and where we're going with the whole thing, like the enablement of really sophisticated business processes, including like the automation of Excel, report documents. It's amazing. I have so much fun with this thing. I just can't even. So it's GA. It's not preview anymore. We always talked about Visio. Visio on the web now has a start page. I think this is going to breathe a whole new life into first class diagramming.
I hope so.
Work
I
here.
hope this brings it to a whole new audience.
I think it's going to be amazing, the innovation that's going to keep driving on this. I'm super happy they did that for the team on
Nice.
top of it. And we already talked about the extension for Edge. Okay, well then, shall we?
Let's do it. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, exactly. So the Windows 11
New
announcement.
wallpaper.
Yeah, okay. So aside from Chrome and UI and refined experiences, which those are, you either like them or you don't, right? And I'm glad that we do that kind of work, that continual refinement and the usability of it. There was somebody on the web, I can't find the article for it, that said like the amount of time you spend traversing to the lower left to hit the start menu, even though you have a start key, most people don't. They go over and click on the menu. They were talking about over a person's lifetime, how many seconds will be saved by moving the start menu to the middle.
Oh, is that right?
Somebody started to do the analysis, and I was like, I don't want to know. And they're like, okay, here's what we're doing. They started to do the math, and I'm like, go away immediately. I don't want to know how many seconds of my life has been spent traversing the mouse to the lower left versus
But
straight
the verdict
down.
was that middle is better.
The verdict was that middle is better. Statistically speaking, the middle will give you seconds back of your life, and apparently those add up. So
Okay.
I don't know, right? Somebody said as an IT pro how many weeks or months or whatever as you wait in front of progress bars for installs and stuff early in my career, and I'm like, I don't want to know that either. Like, stop with this analysis of my time waste, because I do multitask, but you don't really multitask when you're moving your mouse from one spot to another. Although I have found that if you wiggle the mouse rapidly on screen, things move quicker. Like if you just sort of do the
Yeah. It's like when you hit the elevator button a couple times.
yeah, just yeah. So the UI on top of it. So what were the big callouts for me? I love the story about the multi-snap and the saving of multi-monitors, and that I am a multi-monitor person. I have tried at various points in my career to go, I'm going to go work on like a pure tablet interface, like. Back when I was in the partner ecosystem, I'm like, I'm gonna, get all in on this, see if I can work, like, do my real job from an iPad. I can't. I always end up come back to a multi-screen Windows machine when I have to get some real crap done. Like, it just happens to me. Like, I am a person who likes to spread out a bunch of information. I'm working with things. My job was, and has been either a knowledge worker or a developer or a citizen developer or a manager, and you need to have a lot of information up. Now, I don't disagree with people who like to have simple and
And
focus.
it's the digital equivalent of spreading out,
Yeah, it
I
really is.
think.
It's like right. Like I don't like the constant switching. Like I have and I love the idea. Like I have my snap panes and my layouts. That's personal preference, right? I just have found that to be true for myself. So I think other devices have become companion devices for me. But one of the reasons
Yep.
I do have to have a secondary device is because the mobile app ecosystem is also part of my world, right? And so the App Store announcement, the App Store announcement, the App Store announcement. I can't even like
Is it
for
not in there?
it's in the other one. I thought I had it pulled up.
Okay.
They broke it down for the test base and everything else. I can pull it up later. But essentially, the App Store announcement for the what kind of you have something all up and then you get on your show and you can't find it on
I do
top of
know.
it.
I know the feeling.
So where was the App Store? I'll find it. Okay, so let's talk about it. So basically, it's the new App Store, and it's fused with the Amazon App Store, so you can deploy and run Android apps natively on Windows 11 PC, which will be, for anyone who owns Windows 10, a free upgrade based on the announcement. Okay.
Yep.
And then because we're mostly an enterprise show, I want to spend the rest of the time talking about some of the application announcements for control and some things. I peeled back a lot of that stuff, but I did want to get through those things. Like, so the native Teams integration, thumbs up, love it, great, right? Like putting that center stage and bringing Teams to broader audiences across domains and everything else, great.
That's gonna be interesting. Yep.
The UI in the center, great. The new layouts and transparencies and everything else. Like I like the visual elements. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
the App Store announcement was probably the most significant thing for me
Implications are far-reaching, and yes, for sure.
because in my world, and the idea that you can save then a snap profile according to I have not gone to the insider build to play with this yet. I will. But
Yeah.
my understanding is that you can sort of save those desktops and combination of snap things. So you can be like, this is my environment to do X, right?
Right.
And that could
Game
have
or
that could have an
play.
Android app. It could have whatever it is. I'm like, oh dear, like that would be really really super useful for me. Like if they got that right, which it looks like they did, I am super positive for that user that both the snap and the multi-monitor and the shift back and forth, and then I tried BlueStacks for a while, if you recall, back when you were in the Twin Cities, right? I was running Android on the BlueStacks emulator on,
Mm.
and I was testing it on the original Surface Go. I'm like, can I get to run the Surface Go? And people made fun of me, but I ran my entire world on that Go, right? I still have it. It's right here. So the Gen 1 Surface Go is still a pretty damn potent piece of equipment for
Right.
what it is. Super mobile, super portable. Nobody reclining on their airline seat can take it away from you, right? When you dock it in, you get these big monitor experiences. Now, was it as fast as a Surface Pro 7? No, but I didn't need it to be. Like I was
Right.
happy with the level of performance and flexibility I got. Well, performance has continued to improve on these small form factor devices, but the touch applications were largely being developed by the mobile platforms, right? Like it wasn't people weren't building them for Windows, but there were all the existing applications because we kind of missed that. Now that lets us bring an entire ecosystem directly into the curated App Store. And did you see the App Store announcement around it? I gotta go find it because it was about the revenue split between the two.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
pretty bold departure from industry.
yeah, and like I said, I'm not going to bother scrolling around on top of it. I guess I'll go to the actual announcement for a section on top of it. There we go. So you get the productivity and ease. You've got the new look and feel, the snap, the center point on Teams, and the App Store. And the thing that was crazy to me about the App Store announcement was the revenue sharing on the App Store, which I think is directly in on top of it. Yep, here it is. So that you can install ISVs and software vendors to bring their apps regardless whether they're built as Win32, PWA, or UWP, or any other app framework. So this means you can now deploy MSI, like Win32 MSI deployment applications through the store, not requiring people to re-platform. For the longest time, we've required developers to re-platform on Windows, right?
Or at least, I mean, if nothing else, you had to touch your app, right, in some way or another.
Fairly
You had to touch
significant manner, right?
Yeah.
And so now you don't have to do that. So this is the final, for me, this has been one of those sort of like, why do we make developers rethink a whole ton of stuff in order to get their apps on our platform? We shouldn't do that. And this, regardless if you think we're where we're at, or because some of these things have, yes, there are security model advantages, there are dev advantages doing that stuff, but we shouldn't force you to do that. We should encourage you to do that. It should be you should want to do those things. We shouldn't make you do those things if we don't have to on top of it. Also, if you bring your own commerce, you get to keep 100% of your revenue when you bring it to the App Store, which I found is fascinating. And if you use our commerce, 85-15 revenue split.
Yep.
That's a little different.
Which is competitive.
Yeah, that's a little different on top of it. And so this is the big post for me, right? Where they had all the different features and innovations and all the rest of the stuff, and the ability to run, those Android apps directly on top of it. So, before I dive into sort of the enterprise IT stuff and a few call-outs that maybe people didn't unpack, like what were your other thoughts around it?
I think you've kind of called out a lot of the ones. I've seen a lot of people, kind of bristle at some of the requirements, TPM2 being one of the ones, because I know that's not still super mainstream. But I think one of the things to talk about, too, is Windows 10 is going to be updated and supported for quite a while. I think 4 more years.
Well, yeah. And okay, so let's go there then. Okay, so
because people are thinking it, right?
Yeah, people are like, well, wait a minute. Because why would you not upgrade? Like, here's the thing I've had for the longest time. Like, you know how I feel about staying current, right? And giving it this version has some user punch, in my opinion. Like, absolutely. There is, like, if you use this and you had to go backwards, like somebody once said to me,
this is not just a lipstick or a fresh coat.
No, it's not. And somebody once said to me, like, look, none of my users are calling me up talking about like Office and raving about the new features. I don't get those kind of calls. And the group I was in, the person said, well, how about we roll them back to Office 2003 and then see if your phone rings?
It will.
Right? Or to like 2010. Like, trust me, like people get used to new. There are definite human advantages in going forward in these things. And yes, there are people who are like, I don't like change or whatever it is, right? But that's change is a constant. We all know that. Yep. The fascinating thing for here is like, why the reticence then? If we believe that it'd be a better user experience and there'll be better productivity gains from it, and it's more secure and everything, then where's the risk come from? If we put aside the change management, okay, and we say there would be value here to people if I can get them across the line, where does your risk? Why wouldn't you upgrade?
I don't know. Is this a trick question?
Not really. It's operational risk, right? You're worried. Okay. Is my stuff going to run? Right? Is my stuff going to fit in my new house? Like, what's the guarantee the upgrade's going to go well? What's my burden surrounding maintenance and updates on top of it? And so the biggest bane of that is compatibility and analytics and understanding of its ability to run on your machines and all these other nuances that go out there. And this is where there's a portfolio of tools that we have covered ad nauseum on this show. You know how I feel about like desktop analytics and the data from that whole space. But the app ecosystem compatibility tends to be one thing. So they announced TestBase. Have you seen this?
No.
So TestBase is actually an older announcement that we just mentioned once upon a time back in the, early, maybe probably close to episode 200 or something.
Okay.
We've been doing this for a very long time. So it was back in September. And, in the midst of the pandemic, I don't think people maybe paid as much attention as they should have to TestBase. And so TestBase is an Azure service that facilitates data-driven automated testing of applications. You submit your applications, and it does what like historical test use case tools did for like mobile applications, for web applications. Those you've used that crap in DevOps pipelines, right? Well, they brought that tool set into an operational construct for IT admins to be able to load their applications into virtual machines and to be able to run test cases.
That's awesome.
Right? And then you get all this wrapped analytics around what's happening, compatibilities and stuff. And then if you're over 150 seats, you have AppAssure in the event you detect an issue where we will then help you remediate and make that app run.
That's amazing.
So, and then you don't have to. You can just continually have the new versions of Windows go out there, and you can have this automated test line that essentially does that. Now, people said, "Hey, we don't like it because it's missing a few features on top of it, right?" And it's like, okay, it might be, but now they have functional testing in Preview, where you can actually put in your own test automations instead of the out-of-the-box test for launching, where you can actually have scripting and the rest of all that kind of stuff go in there in order to do that kind of stuff. And although, if you wanted to, because you have that virtual machine, you could even use some of the Power Automate desktop automation stuff, right?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
And so you could now, with that level of power on top of it, producing an analytic output, like, dude, like you could take your top whatever applications, have someone sit down, automate the test cases around them, and you could have a super healthy automation test case to make damn sure that it's not going to go. Now, the stats are something like 99.97 or 99.75% of applications run with no problem on the Windows 10 kernel and always have, right? But
just don't want to be that 0.3, right?
But the 0.25% can be a real pain. And so, but what if you knew about them and you could proactively remediate them with Aperture? And so this is something I really would like people to pay attention to. There's test base for 365, how it works, like what you do, the insights you gain around it, the cost and reduction and everything else on top of it, and then you can sign up or nominate a software vendor. So if you think one of your vendors should be doing this or whatever it is, then you can be like, my ISV could really benefit from this level. You can also have our developer program reach out to people. So if you have a software vendor that you think would benefit from this, you can also have our DevOps team reach out to them.
That's awesome.
That's
very cool.
I just wanted to point out, like, one of the maturity announcements was, like, there's a lot of stuff around that IT maturity level for where things are at. And so between TestBase and Aperture and all the rest of those things and the analytics packages, it's pretty good. And so I'm pausing. Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Doug?
you went away for a brief moment.
Yeah.
But you're back.
Okay, same.
Yeah.
On my side.
Well, we might have had a small internet hiccup, but who knows? So anyway, we're almost out of time, and we're roboting a little bit. Yep. I can tell, right, from an audio standpoint.
Yeah.
But so hopefully you get the sense. Like, we'll look at the new features. Here's a lot of stuff for end user value, for personal productivity, for application running. The team's calling is all great, but the IT maturity stuff here feels really strong. Like it feels first party, and it feels out of the box and early, and I'm super excited to unpack for everybody on this show the enterprise functionality as we head through the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch this unfold over the next 6-7 months or so.
Yeah, because I'm definitely going to dive in and refresh that analytics story, the compatibility story. Yeah. We'll unpack TestBase a little bit. Like, we're going to do some real stuff around this as a group in order to try and get people through. We did it last time when we said, certain things were hitting the end of support horizon. We went through how to do, app compatibility, document compatibility, the rest of the stuff. Well, this time I'd like people to get operationally healthy across the Windows estate, because I think this release is really solid looking, and I want to get there, and I want everyone to get there as soon as they can.
Yeah, it seems like the early kind of thoughts have been positive for the most part from what I've seen. I know it's really early, but it's interesting to see what people think. So,
yeah, I mean,
I'm bullish.
And if that dock speed is true, some of those things I saw on screen, like some of those, like the speed of that, like if they got that working, like if it really works like that, which I think it does,
well, heck, even talking about Windows updates being 40% faster and smaller and just more streamlined experience, and it's stuff like that really just makes using an operating system more enjoyable, right?
100%. All right, well, that's we're at 10:58, 59. That was the Todd and Doug first pass Windows 11 announcement recap. Go watch the stream. The recorded streams are actually quite stable as opposed to the live stream, which had a couple of bumps. I don't know if anybody...
Oh, did it? Mine worked pretty well.
Yeah, no, a lot of people had bumps. If you watched on some other things, you were fine. It depends on which source you were.
I watched it on
clicking
Twitter,
it from.
And it worked great.
Yes, that stream was quite fine. But some of the other relays were not as clean. But so I hopped over and watched it over there, and it was all good. So
cool.
All right. Well, I don't know. That's all I got. Everyone, have a fabulous weekend. Todd, you got anything else?
No, sir. I just hope everyone, like you said, has a great weekend and stay safe.
Yeah, same. And take care. And we're on next Friday, are we?
I don't know why we wouldn't be.
Yeah, so because it's I wonder if you're taking off for the 4th of July or anything like that.
Now after that, we'll probably be a few weeks without because I think
Yeah, that'll
I
be
know
our
I'm
last
going.
show before 4th of July break, right? Where we're both
Yeah,
Todd and Doug are both taking some vacation. So we'll see you next week, and then not for a couple weeks. So
yeah, that sounds about
be
right.
safe.
All right, see you
Take care,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.